Welcome to Turf Talk. This is our next episode, which would be number 3 in our series. And today we're going to talk about turf nutrition and how our program addresses turf nutrition. Now, every yard is different, but the same basic principles need to be applied to each person's property, and maybe slight variations of each one. But we do know that through science and research that there's 16 key nutrients in each yard to make that really thick and lush and help it grow. But some nutrients are a little bit more important than the other ones. Casey, can you tell us what those nutrients might be and how we address that?
Yeah, we really only need to concentrate on 5 nutrients. Nitrogen, which promotes top growth and chlorophyll production. Phosphorus, that promotes root growth and development and also helps the lawn spread. Potassium, which is going to help the grass process the enzymes that produce sugars, starches, and proteins, directly affecting its feeding process. That also helps boost disease resistance. Iron and magnesium, which are both parts of the photosynthesis process, which is the grass feeding itself, and gives the lawn that nice healthy green color.
So when I look at a bag of fertilizer when I'm at the store, I see these 3 numbers on it. Is that what those numbers indicate? What are those numbers?
That's your NPK, and the NPK stands for nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. Not in that order, it's nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Nitrogen, again, promotes that healthy top growth, the green color. Phosphorus is really great for that root development. We don't use a lot of phosphorus because there are some concerns with phosphorus. We do use a little bit in our program. And then potassium, which helps protect the plant and helps it in its feeding processes.
So we do 6 rounds, and you said that we have these 5 nutrients that are extra important. Do we put out all 5 of those nutrients in the same amount every application? Or is there kind of a plan, a rhyme and a reason? You know, maybe we put out 50% of your nitrogen in the spring or summer. You know, how does that work?
So that's a great question, and we'll get into that a little bit. During the spring, we're going to concentrate more on a low dose of nitrogen and a medium dose of potassium. We don't want a whole lot of nitrogen because the lawn's waking up. It doesn't need a lot of food. It's going to concentrate its efforts on top growth anyway. Nitrogen would boost that.
So that just means the grass is going to grow like crazy.
It's going to grow like crazy. You're going to be mowing 2 or 3 times a week. We don't want that.
Well, some people do, right?
Well, some people might. We're going to concentrate on just giving it enough food to give it a boost, give it a little wake up. We're going to concentrate more of our efforts in the spring on crabgrass prevention and grub prevention.
So throughout the season, our program is going to change to address the different needs in each of the seasons.
So we've talked about round 1 and 2. Let's talk about rounds 3 through 5.
Okay.
That's when we're going to use our Armament Technology, Matt. And you know a little bit about the Armament Technology.
Yeah. Every program that we use has this Armament Technology.
Right.
That's really beneficial. So what actually is this technology and why do we use it?
So the Armament Technology is pretty impressive. What it does is it's an additive that's in our fertilizer program. It's going to help increase nutrient uptake, and it does this in a very scientific way. What it does is it unlocks tied up nutrients that are already in the soil, and it helps hold on to the nutrients that we're going to add to the soil. It does this by stabilizing them with negative ions that attract the positive ions. It contains a high number of negatively charged ions that are going to bond with those positive ions in the elements, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, iron, and it's going to stabilize those and prevent them from reacting with other elements that are in the environment or in the soil and causing long chain reactions that the turf can't uptake.
So in layman's terms, it's good for us.
It's a vitamin boost for the lawn, yes sir.
Now one thing that really is special is, I can't say this 100%, but we're probably one of the few companies that have really taken control and emphasizes the use of this Armament Technology. So we are somewhat unique in that fashion.
I believe we are.
And we even use Armament Technology on the seed that we use. So the seed, when we get into aeration season, the seed has this Armament Technology coated in it. So it helps with the nutrition factor, because when seed is germinating, it's like a baby.
It is.
You know, like that baby needs constant attention. It needs water. It needs to sleep. It needs nutrients. And so that's kind of what a seed is. So when you think about a seed, it needs all these nutrients to really flourish. And this Armament Technology that is coated in it, it really helps that seed get the nutrients that it needs.
It does.
To make it flourish. You know, we have been doing aerations for years, and we get very few complaints about seed not coming up or not enough seed. And, you know, people think that maybe there wasn't enough seed put down. But when we switched over and we started using this Armament Technology, those complaints of seed not coming up almost went away. Like, I think out of the hundreds of aerations we did last year, we had 3 complaints.
That's pretty good.
And that's pretty crazy. And obviously, we're going to take care of those complaints. We're going to address those in the spring because it's a little too late. And we're in. If you're watching this on a later date, we're filming this in December, so obviously you can't seed in December. But seeding in December, you know, getting close to that December, January timeframe. I know it's a little late for this application, but we offer a winterizer application.
We do.
And a lot of people are super confused about this because when we apply round 6, which is our winterizer, it's an all mineral winterizer. Typically people have stopped mowing at that point. The grass is really not growing at that point. So we get the question all the time of like, do I really need it? So can you elaborate a little bit on what the winterizer is and why it is possibly the most important round that we do?
Sure. So through the spring and summer and even in the fall when your grass is feeding, it's sucking up all these nutrients out of the soil and it's depleting those resources. We use that all mineral fertilizer in the winter. It's going to go down November, December-ish when the grass is going into dormancy, and it's going to deposit those minerals and those nutrients into the soil and make them readily available. We've already applied our Armament Technology. That sticks around a little bit. It doesn't stick around very long in the soil, so it's not going to be accumulating, but it is going to be going to work on some of these nutrients, and then it's going to wake it back up in the spring. The all mineral fertilizer contains nitrogen, potassium, magnesium, sulfur, and iron. Those are all key elements that the grass is storing during the fall and is going to wake up and feed on periodically during the winter. Here in Indiana, we have a pretty mild climate. We get some cold spells, but there's also times in January where it goes up to 60, 65 degrees. The grass is going to briefly wake up during those times. It's not going to grow, but it's going to feed.
So if I'm hearing you right, to maybe translate out a little bit is, I explain this to people as if it was like a bear hibernating. So that's kind of like your grass. So when a bear hibernates, it has stored all this food in its belly to get it through the winter. And that's kind of what this is doing. That's what kind of grass is doing. Like, even though the grass is not growing on the top, it is still absorbing some of those nutrients that we're putting in the ground at that time. Similar to that bear. That bear is storing all of its reserves to help it get through the winter time. So then when it comes out, you know, of its hibernation in the spring, it's ready to go. And it's locked in, ready to go. That's kind of what this winterizer is. Now, similar to a bear, the bear, you know, maybe there's a misconception, but bears actually don't sleep the entire time of their hibernation. They actually kind of move around slightly. Their body is still working. Mm-hmm. Like, they still have to feed themselves, you know, with that stored energy. So the internal workings of their body, their gut is still working, the blood is still obviously pumping. That's kind of what's happening with the grass. Like, it's still
just a slowdown
process.
Just like the bear slows down his metabolic processes and kind of lives off those stored nutrients, the grass is going to do that. It's going to slow down its metabolic processes. It's going to concentrate nothing to top growth, nothing to expansion, but it is going to concentrate on storing more food and absorbing more food and slowly living off of those nutrients that it's stored.
Yeah, and I think that's probably another reason why it's so important is that any yard has, at a given time, millions of weed seeds in it.
Yeah.
You know? And so the goal of our program is to get the grass to grow big enough, fast enough that it smothers out the weeds, and then you have a really thick, lush lawn. And so this, by putting in this winterizer and helping it store, when it comes to springtime, it can flourish and it can start trying to outcompete some of those weeds that are often in your lawn that we're trying to combat with our program.
Well, that's the key benefit of this winterizer is it does allow the yard to come out weeks earlier than maybe the neighbor's yard that doesn't get that winterizer, and you'll see that difference in your lawn. It's also going to help it with expansion in the spring, because that's when the grass is really wanting to spread out and claim new territory excuse me, and choke out those weed seeds. The most effective way to prevent weeds in your lawn is not through chemical application, it's through having a thick, healthy turf.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the really cool benefits of this program is, you know, when we went to design this program and we built this initially, we took the best of the other thoughts that are, you know, what other companies are doing, and some companies sell the winterizer as an upsell thing, kind of like they'll upsell you grub control and all these other different things. Now we obviously have additional services that are on top of our Happy Lawn program, but when we went to develop this program, we knew that there were certain rules that we had to put in place to give you the best yard possible. One of those rules was we have to do grub control, because there's too many yards that get grub control and they don't really think that they need it, and then there's too much damage done and it costs them a boatload of money to fix it. So we put a rule in, like, all of our programs are going to have grub control.
Absolutely.
And all of our programs are going to have this winterizer application. It's not an upsell. We just know that it's needed. So part of our 6-step process, our 6-step visits to your house to put out fertilization, weed control, and feed that turf is this winterizer application, because we know that it's so important. And you've gone through this, you know, winter time, and it's typically gloomy. You may hate the cold, you may hate the snow, and as soon as our temperatures start raising and you hear the birds chirping and everything starts, you know, coming back to life in the spring, when you see that green yard pop, I mean, that makes you happy. It gets you out of the doldrums.
It does.
Of what winter is, you know. So this is the crux of our nutrition program. Everything that we wanted to talk about today. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to drop them below this video in a comment, and we will make sure to address that. One thing that's going to almost be an accomplice to this program that we're going to talk about potentially in the next segment of Turf Talk is going to be our clay soil program. So our clay soil program is going to be heavily invested in what do you call those? The manufactured neighborhoods?
Yeah, the
subdivisions, housing developments. So in those, they have to strip away all your topsoil to get to the clay so they can build a house on it. And so there's a lot of people that, even if you follow this nutrition program that we just explained to you, they still have a really tough time growing grass. And we have an answer to that. And that's what our clay soil program is.
Our clay soil program is going to be a game changer for these housing division lawns. It's going to save people time and money, especially when it comes to replacing that topsoil level. A lot of people have to put in sod, and sod's expensive, it's hard to maintain, and it has a lot of issues if it's not properly maintained.
Yeah, so we'll get into that the next episode. We look forward to seeing you. We're going to drop this every Tuesday. And so potentially the Tuesday after Christmas, you'll see the episode about the clay soil program. And we're really excited to drop this next one for you. I mean, a lot of the products are locally sourced from Indianapolis that we're going to be reusing. I mean, right here in our backyard that is going to go back into this. So we're using local products, local vendors to deliver this clay soil program.
Absolutely.
And we're the only ones doing this.
I believe so.
Yeah. So until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye.